Hello and welcome to round 7 of the 2020 Formula Virtual World Championship here from Jerez in Spain. My name's Bradley Doughton and I'm joined today not by Lily Westwood, but up from the pit lane, Robert Mathershaw.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Today then, the drivers will be tackling 69 laps of this 4.423km circuit that in recent years has been dominated by strategy rather than overtaking. It was Nathaniel Powers who won here last time out, the only double winner here at Jerez. Let's see how he gets on today then. Let's take a look at the grid. For the 5th time in 7 races, it's a Mathershaw Porsche front row lockout. Enrique Ruiz extends his record of consecutive pole positions. He's up to 5 as Adrian Simon joins him on the front row of the grid. Simon, one of 2 drivers on the extra soft. Ruiz, one of 3 drivers on the softs. Most drivers on the mediums and hards, as are the guys on the second row. Nathaniel Powers, 3rd for the 4th time in 5 races. Felix Perez alongside him. All 4 full tyre compounds on show on the first 4 spots on the grid. Will Hoskins lines up 5th in the second first, also on the hot tyres like his teammate. Klaas van Snelheid goes from 6th on the softs. Will have a lot of work to do early on to get past those firsts. Jean Matson with a brilliant performance, his best of the season for Ingram. He lines up 7th. Johan Halverson alongside in the North Star is in 8th. Elroy Wagner is 9th in the lead of the Lopez cars, a far better performance than last time out in France. James Vazquez makes it 2 Ingrams in the top 10 with one of his better performances of the season. Finn Schneider, for the first time in 2020, he makes the grid and qualifies a stunning 11th. Gabriele Garcia lines up 12th in the second of the North Stars. It's a season best performance for Timo Kinnaman in 13th in the lead of the Chimas. Sergio Alvarez is just behind him in 14th in the first of the Phoenix cars. Another season best performance, it's Carson Davenport in 15th. Lucas with their best qualifying of the return so far. Marcus Thunder is just directly behind him. Those two are split by Alar Kanga. Kanga with his joint worst performance of the season, disappointing after it went wrong in France. It's not got much better here. Hunter Ryan, Ocelot had a dismal qualifying. The Australian lines up in 18th. Nick Addison makes it 19th for the 3rd time in 4 races. That's matching his best qualifying to date. Nikolai Milkovic was disappointed with 20th, just ahead of the 2 Westwoods on row 11 of Giordano and Beckenbauer. The team left scratching their head after qualifying and will be hoping for a far better performance in the race. Dominicas Sviranas lines up a disappointed 23rd, just ahead of Yakubi Takahashi, the only arrow to make the grid. Ellington failed to qualify, as did Kovalenko and both Meteors. For the first time in Formula Virtual history, there will be no Meteor on the grid. It's Chiara Thunder and a disappointed Thierry Zylander who round out the 26 runners. So as we go down to the grid then, it's Enrique Ruiz in pole position, and for the 5th time in 7 races his teammate Adrian Simon alongside. The lights go green, we're racing in Jerez then, and it's a great start from Enrique Ruiz. Simon alongside then on the extra soft tyres, couldn't get the purchase away from the line, and it's Ruiz who leads into turn 1, Simon 2nd, Powers 3rd, Perez 4th as they were on the grid then, but Klaas van Snelheid has jumped Will Hoskins up to 5th. That is absolutely crucial for the Dutchman. He's on the soft tyres, Hoskins on the hards. The cars absolutely in the midfield, side by side behind them. Finn Schneider has lost a couple of places off the grid, but it's Ruiz leading from his teammate up front then.
Yeah, really good start there from both of the Porsche cars there, falling into line, not having any issues whatsoever. And also, as you say, a good start there from Klaas van Snelheid, getting past one of those firsts.
Yeah, and already then pressuring Felix Perez here on the opening lap, and Klaas will absolutely need to be getting these moves done to get clear of those guys on the hard tyres, as the midfield still sorting themselves out then halfway around the opening lap.
Yeah, it's absolutely frantic out there at the moment. Looking at the gap as well, Powers is already 1.2 seconds up on the 4th place man Perez there. So once Van Snelheid gets past, he's already got a little bit of a gap to make up.
If Van Snelheid gets past, where we've seen in prior races here at Jerez, it is very tricky to overtake at this circuit. And we've got a lot of different tyre options in play today, especially at the front. So we will see how that one plays out. But it's Enrique Ruiz then who rounds the hairpin at the end of the opening lap to cross the line, and it's Ruiz who leads ahead of Adrian Simon. Powers already about a second back from them in 3rd place. But yeah, Perez already this early on a cork in the bottle. He's got pretty much the entire field stacked up behind him.
Yeah, very much so, and I think we're seeing in full effect the difficulty to overtake already. Looking at the circuit here, there are an awful lot of corners where it is just one line through. Everybody has to follow line astern. You're looking at really turn 7 for Curva Dry Sack, where they can come down the back straight and then try to get the move on the inside or the final corner. Other than that, really, it's quite difficult to get past.
Yeah, it is. It is very single file here at here in Jerez, as we've seen. But I think the races are. Oh, there's Klaas looking up the inside then at the hairpin on Perez. But so we've seen this in recent years. The inside line at that hairpin just doesn't work, and it almost allows guys behind to nearly get the run around the outside of you. So if Klaas is going to make that, he's got to go to the outside there.
Yeah, what kind of happens is they're compromising their entry so much into the corner to try and get that inside line that, yeah, they just lose all of the momentum as they're going in. As you say, it really leaves them compromised if they haven't managed to get the move completed by the apex.
Yeah, it certainly does. So I'm just taking a look because I just think I believe the two Ocelots have actually made up some ground from where they started. But actually no, looking at the grid, it's not too bad as Enrique resets the fastest lap. Is he going to be beaten by his teammate? It would appear not.
No.
Yeah, Hunter Ryan has made up 1 position, Zviranas has made up 2. I thought they'd make that 3 now. I thought they'd done a little better, but apparently not. And Zylander still rooted right at the back of the field, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And looking at the guys at the front here, Nathaniel Powers in 3rd, already 4 seconds up the road. So it's absolutely working a treat for the top 3 here, having Perez on the hard tyre, blocking up a couple of the quicker guys behind.
Yeah, that's in just 2 laps then, as Klaas closing in again, and up the inside he looks off Felix Perez, but this is probably not going to work, although he's a lot further alongside than he was last time. The two are going to exit the hairpin wheel to wheel, but it is Perez who gets the racing line, and Klaas just has to back out. And he's got to be learning, you know, he should know from the data from prior races that doesn't work. He's going to have to try something different. I think it was here into this right-hander actually, a few years ago, that he managed to execute several overtakes around the outside.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive move if you can manage that as well. What we saw there as well is not only is the hairpin quite difficult to get your car lined up enough to make the overtake, but if you get alongside, because the right-hander, the hairpin after the right-hander, there is a left. You're always compromised onto the next corner as well, so it's doubly difficult to make a move there.
Yeah, absolutely is then. As these guys are now, as you say, some 5.5 seconds behind even Nathaniel Powers in 3rd, and that's in just 3 laps. These hard tyres, the medium and the hard tyres are definitely the order of the day here. I mean, we've got a good, 8/10 of the field. That's 4/5. 4/5 of the field on the medium and hards, and I think that that stems from 2017 and both 2019 here, when we had really warm races, and the harder tyres worked a treat. But it's a lot colder here today, and I wonder if that's having an effect, especially as well on Perez on the hard tyres and his pace, because that seems really slow.
Yeah, there are 5 of the 26 runners that are on either the soft or the extra soft tyre, with only Adrian Simon and Zviranas all the way down in 20th place on the extra soft. And you're absolutely right, I think the temperatures are just that little bit cooler, so we're going to see them that were on the softer tyres. What was going to be potentially a really difficult banana skin of a race for them, it might just come to them in the latter stages, particularly as they start to get lighter on the fuel loads. But as you say, the harder tyres, they're going to have to really push to switch them on. Luckily though, there is probably, I'd say, half the field on the hard tyre, so damage will be limited even if they start to struggle, because there are so many other people that will be in the same boat as them.
Yeah, most definitely. What I'm finding interesting at the moment is actually Nathaniel Powers. Bearing in mind, Powers is on the medium tyres. The 2 guys ahead of him, Ruiz on the softs and Simon on the extra soft. Simon will have hoped to be past Ruiz by now, but obviously that's not going to work. So he's gonna. I'm assuming he's going to have to wait for the pit stops and then make the time up in later stints. But yeah, impressed by how Powers is sticking with these guys.
Yeah, no, Powers is doing an excellent job. I think the medium tyre looks like it's going to be working well. It'll be interesting to see how it works with the other medium runners. I think with Simon now, the key is if he can't get past Ruiz on pace on the circuit, that gap between Powers and Perez, if that can grow just enough, I don't think it will, but then there does seem to be a couple of gaps, maybe 2 or 3 seconds that are opening up. If he can fall into one of those, it might be able to just give him that clear edge just to then, before they pit, to make up the time that he's losing.
Yeah, certainly does, but I think, to be honest, I think he'll be absolutely fine. I mean, we've had, 4 laps, and he's already 8 seconds clear of Perez. It's a reasonably short pit lane here in Jerez as well. I think he'll be well through, and he'll comfortably come back out in third once he pits.
Yeah, and not only that, I think because Powers is doing such a good job of keeping the pace with Ruiz and Seymour, actually Powers might not even pose that much of a problem on the harder tyre either, because he's going to be too far up the road to be a problem for Versley.
Yeah, almost definitely. As we watch the guys, we've seen it before. It's a trait here in Jerez, especially in the early stages. Then when they're all on, albeit different compounds but fresh tyres, they do struggle to overtake. Klaas van Snelheid still tucked up behind Felix Perez. He'll have been absolutely delighted to jump one of the first off the line, as we've mentioned. But yeah, this will be causing him some frustration, I should imagine, under that helmet. Matson sat in 7th though, held that position off the line. Likewise, Johan Helverson just behind him in 8th, and Wagner in 9th, and Vasquez rounding out the top 10. We've had very little movement actually in the whole order.
No. Absolutely. What is that? Oh, here we go. Are we going to see the Van Snelheid move finally paying off? It would appear that it's going to be a carbon copy of what happened a couple of laps ago. He's going to be out on the outside for the next corner and has to fall back into line.
Yeah, he just had the nose in front going into the corner there, which I think was slightly further than he's managed any other attempt. But yeah, same outcome. Trying to go up the inside of their hairpin is not going to work.
Yeah, what he might find is that as the stint goes on, if he can keep the soft tyres alive just enough to keep that move viable, we might see that then Perez on the hard tyre, he might have just taken a little bit too much bite out of the rears. If Perez starts to lose a little bit of grip on the power on the exit of the corner, Van Snelheid might just be able to get enough traction to get ahead.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
As that was Hunter Ryan then, looking up the inside of Al Arkanga, and as though he was going to try and make a move. And I think that's something we need to talk about. Qualifying yesterday was a little odd in the fact that both Ocelot, who have obviously been, for the most part of this season, general top 10, top 12 contenders, and Westwood, who have been, solidly in the midfield, had really abysmal qualifying sessions.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, I suppose, as well. You're looking at a circuit here that's quite tight and twisty, favours the cars with good aerodynamics. We may be finding, as I think, Van Snelheid isn't going to take his nose down the inside. I think we're seeing with the Ocelot, a car that favours the good aero around here is going to always perform better. And with the midfield being so tight in the regions that were behind them in previous races, for this race actually, they might have just been leapfrogged by the fact that I think that their engine is probably one of their stronger assets.
Yeah, absolutely. Neither Beckenbauer or Giordano making any progress at the moment. In fact, Beckenbauer is where he qualified, and Giordano slipped back 2 places. So yeah, it's absolutely not been the start that Westwood would have wanted.
No.
We go on board with Dominicas Veranas then. The Lithuanian has made his way up to 19th place now, so appears to be the only one on track that can actually find any room to overtake at the moment. But we've seen that already this season, haven't we? As Marcus Thunder in front of him looks up the inside of Veranas' teammate Hunter Ryan. But as I say, we've seen that already, both in Australia, where it was difficult, not as difficult as it is to overtake here, but where it was somewhat difficult to overtake, and likewise in South Africa at Kyle Army. Veranas just seemed to be able to find the moves where no one else could.
Yeah, I think the Ocelot has particularly good race pace as well, because we've seen Hunter Ryan do a couple of notable things during the races, but I think Veranas in particular really, really comfortable in that car over a race stint, looking after the tyres, because they do seem, of the teams that have ostensibly been at the top for the first 6 races of the season, they do seem to have just been that little bit more fleet of foot on their tyres. So yeah, we might well see, and also to be fair, I think before long we'll be seeing Veranas coming up upon Ryan to overtake his teammate.
Yeah, I should imagine we absolutely will. He's going to have to make his way past Marcus Thunder first, but I can't imagine he'll be particularly far away from his first pit stop. Let's not forget, I should imagine part of the reason why he is being able to find these overtakes is that he is indeed on the extra soft tyres and in amongst cars that are on much harder tyres and are also, you'd probably say, some way off the pace of the Ocelot. They are well out of position.
No, that is absolutely correct.
As is Kanga, to be fair.
Yeah, no, very much so. Looking at the pit stops, going back to my old job, as it were. So we're just about to come up to lap 10, which would be a 6 stop that they'd be consigned to there. 5 stops is lap 12, but I think that we're looking at here probably 4 stops for a lap if you pit on lap 14, 3 stops for lap 17. Lap 23 gives you the 2-stop strategy, and then if you can get to lap 35, of course, the hard runners will more than certainly be aiming for that. You can do this in a single stop. But I think even with that single stop, these hard-tired runners, they're very, very lacking pace in comparison to the top 3 here. So, but again, I think that the fact that there are so many trains on the circuit at the moment, with cars just following closely behind, anybody on the softer tyres will inevitably be hurt by the fact that they can't get past these hard runners.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we've got... I mean, what have we got? We've got Perez has a train behind him down to Vázquez in 10th, doesn't he? And then, I mean, to be fair, pretty much everyone else is stacked up behind Garcia. And not for the first time this season.
No, he's certainly had a lot of practice in defending his line this season so far.
What a polite way of putting it.
Absolutely.
As I'm just going to have a flick through, because I believe I had the pit stop times from... Yes, there we go. So from 2018, when the temperatures were, I think, a little bit warmer than we've got here today, but roughly similar. The soft tyres pitted on lap 16, the mediums on lap 27, and the hards on lap 38.
Right, yeah, so we're looking... Well, that would be interesting. If they do lap 16, it will just about be a 4-stop strategy. I think they'll have fallen just 1 lap short on the stint length. So it'd be interesting to see whether or not the temperatures do play an effect here as well. Other than that, a 1 and a 2-stop strategy for the medium and hard-tired runners seems like a pretty viable strategy option.
Well, I think, especially for the mediums at the moment, with at least the pace that Powers is showing, I think he's really the only one that can exercise that at the moment, given everyone else is stuck behind someone on the hard tyres.
Definitely. I think what we're seeing as well here is Perez in 4th with that little train behind him. The only reason that anyone in that train has a gap to Garcia in 11th is because of the good pace that the first has on the hard tyre. Actually, looking at it, that train goes all the way from Garcia to Zylander in last place.
Yeah.
There isn't a gap, a particularly large gap between anybody in that pack. That is, one mistake there could cost you 3 or 4 positions in 3 or 4 corners at this rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially considering Zylander, who is obviously running last after a qualifying session that just went completely to pot yesterday for the poor Belgian. He's on the hard tyre as well.
Yeah, I think this one for the first maybe stint and maybe first 2 stints, it might be a bit of a slow burner, but I think all this strategy is going to play out to a fascinating conclusion.
Oh, it absolutely will. To be fair, it always does in Jerez. It starts off atrocious and we sit here and go, no one's overtaking, no one's doing anything, it's boring as anything. And later on in the race, we get the guys that are on the softer compounds of tyre, that are on fresh tyres as well, up against those that are on the mediums or the hards who are on warm compounds, and we do get a bit of overtaking, and we get a really mixed bag and result, and cars probably not quite where they should be, and it always ends up. I mean, personally, I think it always ends up a pretty good race here in a Jerez.
Isn't that because you end up on the good side of everything that happens generally here? That's the thing.
I mean, we've had 2 wins in 3 years. It's not, as Klaas van Snelheid looks down the inside of Felix Perez once again at the hairpin. He's takes a little bit too much curb and some grass there as well on the inside. But unsurprisingly, that's not doing as back up front. I nearly called him Arthur Simon. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, Adrian Simon still sticking absolutely with his teammate, and indeed he dives into the pits then. End of lap 11.
Yeah, so that's 1 lap short of really being safe on a 5-stop strategy. This could be 6 pit stops for Adrian Simon, so now it's crucial that he comes out in some clear air to really make the most of these extra soft tyres, because if he can get that air, the fact that he's pitting so many times wouldn't necessarily consign him. He just needs that space on the track to really make use of them.
He's absolutely comfortably out.
Yeah.
Adrian Simon then some 5 seconds clear of Felix Perez here in Jerez after his first stop. So a pit stop here, only about 14 seconds. Zveranas dives in as well then, so it looks as though 11 laps is as far as the extra soft tyre will go. And while Simon comes out in 3rd, unfortunately poor old Zveranas will go to the back of the field. But he does have clear air himself. That's one bonus.
Yeah, I still think Zveranas here, because weirdly, because he was almost so far back in the field, he's got that clear air as well. That might mean that he can then jump himself up as the field inevitably spreads out a bit more. There's going to be gaps that do appear, so he might get into a position that he might get lucky, and in every stint he might just fall back into that clear air and really benefit from it. If somebody on the extra soft tyre was maybe around the regions of in that Jerez train, I think that's when they'd be in real trouble, because they'd pit, come out, and then they'd just slot straight back in behind Garcia. So yeah, I think it's either being right at the front or right at the back of the extra soft tyre that might be of benefit today.
Yeah, most definitely. What will be interesting then, so lap 12 was when they rejoined. Zviranas was 8 seconds behind Zylander when he came out of the pits. It will be intriguing to see how quickly he closes that down. Meanwhile, up front, Adrian Simon has already taken nearly 3 seconds out of Enrique Ruiz.
Wow, I think that shows the potential that extra soft tyre has, and it also shows the amount of time that Simon failed to make up by not getting past Ruiz at the start. So that's incredible.
Yeah, but if he carries on at this rate, not getting past in that first stint won't matter one iota.
No, I think that he's been somewhat fortunate that Perez has been on that hard tyre and effectively gave him that gap. But also looking at Zviranas there, it looks about 6 seconds. That's near 5.5 seconds for, back to Zylander, from Zylander now. That is, this extra soft tyre might just pull the cat out of the hat for everybody.
Yeah, so likewise, Zviranas has taken a good 2.5-3 seconds there in one lap out of Thierry Zylander in the extra soft tyre. We were expecting it to be pacey, but this is somewhat ridiculous. I'm sure they won't be able to keep this one up. I mean, wait to see Adrian Simon's fastest lap, because that's going to blow it out of the water. The extra soft tyre has been somewhat of an enigma, I think, since it was introduced. I think there's been an awful lot of people that are very reluctant to even try it, because, as you say, it's very pacey, but there's been really big question marks about how long it's going to last. And we're seeing here, it doesn't actually last that long. But sometimes, if the pace is in the car and if the driver can make the most of it and gets that clear out, there you go, posts a 1 minute 25.388 to take the fastest lap. I think it works in a very specific set of conditions, I think is probably the best way to put it. But those conditions seem to occur a little bit more often than people have given it credit for before. What was, I can't remember what Ruiz's fastest lap was before that. Was it a 27 or a 28 somewhere?
Yeah, it was in that region.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure that's a good 1 to 2 seconds at least quicker than any fastest lap we've seen so far. So yeah, and Adrian Simon now only a 1.5 seconds behind Nathaniel Powers already. That could be his stopper. He's I don't think he'd have expected to close up quite that quick. But bear in mind, Powers' medium tyres are now 13, nearly 14 laps old. Simon is on pretty much fresh extra softs.
Yeah, this is where the overtaking opportunities being scarce will, as you say, cause a problem. But as you say, it might well be that the differential in rubber is just too large for Nathaniel Powers to hold him off. I'll be honest, I didn't expect him to catch the back of Powers this quickly. I thought it was going to be timed just about perfectly, that Powers was probably going to be thinking about making his first pit stop by the time Simon had got past. But clearly,
I think Simon will have pitted again by the time Powers makes his first stop.
I think you're right now, yeah. I think that, to be honest, the pace of Simon's car and on those tyres was completely masked by being stuck behind Enrique Ruiz.
Yeah, but look at him then. Adrian Simon already right on Nathaniel Powers for second place. Likewise, at the back of the field, Zviranas has already closed right up to the back of Thierry Zylander. Which of them then will be able to make a move? I get the feeling that Zviranas will probably get through first, purely because the car differential between the Ocelot and the Phoenix is probably slightly greater than that between the Porsche Mattershore and the Downton.
Yeah, plus the hard tyres on. Although it'd be interesting to see how this lines up. Will he look down the inside now? He's going to sit inside. I think that's something that we saw.
Zviranas is through.
Oh wow!
Sorry, I've just noticed on the timing screens, Dominicas Zviranas has got his first move done already, and he's demoted Zylander back to last. And is up into 25th, and I kind of get the feeling, I mean, obviously we're watching this because it's for second. I kind of want to watch Zviranas coming through the field now, because I think this could be quite impressive.
Well, bearing in mind they're probably about 30 seconds behind these two on the track. As these two were going through the hairpin for turn 7, I shuddered to think where Zviranas made that overtake. It was wow.
I think.
So
I remember a few years ago, I think it was 2017 actually, and it was because it was Klaas's first season, where he turned up here and was overtaking people inside, outside, and wherever you like at any random corner, and seemed to have absolutely no regard for what they meant and which corners you could overtake at whatsoever. And I think Kanga was following him with a lot of them, and I get the feeling Zviranas is doing the same. He's passed Kiara Thunder now as well.
I think he might have done it into turn 2 at Michelin, because it does look like if you've got the run out of turn 1 with the more grip, and as you say, with the greater car differential, you might just be able to line your car up on the inside. But wow.
He's also impressively getting these overtakes done. Zviranas isn't really losing much time to Ruiz in the lead. He's sort of maintained that 39-40 second barrier.
Yeah, no, I think really impressive from Zviranas on those extra soft tyres. Looking at Adrian Simon going through the long right-hander at Cito Pont, the car just stepped out a little bit, and he had to put that little bit of opposite lock on, running a little bit more wider than he was anticipating. So the aero wash really making a difference around here, which is why it's inevitably so difficult to overtake. But it's just hopefully whether or not those softer tyres can provide the grip and the extra bite into the tarmac to really overcome that.
Yeah, most definitely. As Enrique Ruiz then looks, well, fairly comfortable up front. Oh, and Ruiz, there we go then. So at the end of lap 16, as I thought it might be, Ruiz does indeed pit.
So that will be a
and Simon's gone through. Adrian Simon has gone through then on Nathaniel Powers, so he's made that overtake. We've missed it, despite having watched him for goodness knows how many laps, and Simon will take the lead then from Nathaniel Powers. Enrique Ruiz will rejoin comfortably in third place. I mean, Perez isn't even going to be a concern anymore.
Well, bearing in mind that Simon must have made that... Oh, here we go.
Yeah, so there we go. We've got a replay then. Adrian Simon Powers took the inside line and was a little bit on the curb. Simon started to drive around the outside, turned into the inside for the next right-hand corner, and Simon just went, thank you very much. And Powers, I think, probably deciding best not to fight that one too much.
Yeah, Powers looks like...
Not that I think he could have done, to be fair.
No, I think Powers got far too much on the curb there. Felt the car starting to slide about with the rear end a little bit, and thought discretion's better part of Valor there. Just let Simon make the move, and well, now he can just try and follow him as much as he can. Although 2.5 seconds already, I think that's it's going to be a game of how far can Simon extend that gap out before he pits next. Yeah,
so what's he got? Adrian's got another 6 laps, I think.
Yeah, around that.
So yeah, this is hammer time now for Adrian Simon. He needs to whack in as many qualifying laps back to back as he can manage, and absolutely extend this gap. That's going to be the story of Simon's race here, really, isn't it? Is when he's in this clean air, he just needs to make the most of it. But I think this could... I mean, so Simon we're expecting to do a 6-stopper then, with Ruiz pitting on lap 16. Interestingly, the only soft-tyred runner to pit on lap 16.
Yeah, so I think that was 1 lap short of being able to, one lap short per stint, if you like, short of being able to. Oh, and we've got.
Yeah, so in comes Klaas then at the end of lap 17 on the soft tyres. He's passed Perez, but that's only because he's in the pit lane. Klaas, with a bit of luck, Klaas might come out in the gap between Vasquez and Garcia, but I don't think. No, he's not going to actually. He didn't have anywhere near enough time. Klaas is going to filter out. Right in that hideous train from Garcia right down to the back of the grid.
Oh yeah, even further down than 17th. Yeah, that's not done wonders for Van Snelheid's race there. But to be honest, he's come out 2 places ahead as Zviranas. It'd be interesting to see how much difficulty Zviranas has on the extra soft tyre, getting past the Downton, which is clearly one of the fastest cars on the grid.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. Hopefully, Klaas will have disappeared somewhat up the road by the time Zviranas gets past Takahashi. But yeah, so interesting one there. As up front, Simon is extending that gap. But yeah, Klaas Van Snelheid now with an awful lot of work to do, down in 21st. And it's Puccio Giordano, his first target, is behind him. That is Zviranas going up the inside of Takahashi. And the fresh tyres there might help him get that done. But no, even there, although Klaas has got it on the outside of Puccio Giordano then. He took the inside line into the hairpin and kept his foot in and drove around the outside of the left-hander. A beautiful move there from the Dutchman, and not one that Zviranas could replicate.
Yeah, a move that happened in the same place that Adrian Simon managed to get past Nathaniel Powers. I think that, as you say, on the fresh tyres, being able to hold it around the outside just becomes possible. and if they can do it, get the correct run out of the hairpin, they're really in with a good chance.
Yeah, most definitely. As Enrique Ruiz, then, likewise, we're really seeing the benefit of that fresh rubber. He's already on the back of Nathaniel Powers. It'd be interesting to see how much more difficult this is for Ruiz then than it was for Simon, because obviously there's one tyre compound difference here. It's only the one step softer.
It's far from a dead cert for Ruiz, and interestingly, going through Circuito Ponce as well, I think I know that both of the Mallet-Shore Porsches have quite a lot of front end on the car for this out, and you can just see it that as they're running in the dirty air of the car.
Sorry, I'm just going to cut across you there. That was absolutely unbelievable from Klaas van Schnell. Milkovic has actually gone back through, but you just saw the traction difference there that Klaas had. He was only sort of like partly alongside halfway through the corner, and in the second half of that left-hander, just out of nowhere, he was just able to drive by Milkovic. I mean, Milkovic then managed to get back. I think Klaas was pinched too much on the inside, but he's already disposed of Beckenbauer, so that's another one ticked off, as Zvorinas has got past Takahashi.
Yeah, great move there from Klaas van Schnellheid. What you're
Even if it didn't work.
Well, yes, but what you're seeing in full effect, though, is the fact that the top teams with their engines, they've got not only the extra power necessarily over some of the midfield and rear runners at the rear of the field, it's the sheer drivability that Van Schnellheid has the confidence to put a little bit more throttle input in, and he knows that the car's electronics is just going to push him on and get grip into the tarmac that little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can continue to take advantage of that.
Yeah, most definitely. As Enrique Ruiz still harassing Nathaniel Powers, then Adrian Simon is some 8.5, getting on for 9 seconds clear of these guys now. It's not quite a pit stop, but he's got another 2 laps. He's very nearly there.
Yeah, I think he might just come out behind both Ruiz and Powers, but
I think he will. But on those fresh tyres, I mean, especially given how old Powers' mediums will be by then, I mean, I think he'll fly past Powers easily. It will be Ruiz I think he'll struggle with if Ruiz can't get past Nathaniel himself.
Totally agree. And here we go, we've got Van Schnellheid making another move into the dry sack hairpin, and alongside again, will he get that traction out of the corner that allows him to run around the outside?
Yeah, well, he's sticking with him. He's sort of level with Milkovic's rear wheel, and indeed he does. And round the outside, once again, sweeps Klaas van Schnellheid, and this time he does get past Nikolai Milkovic then and moves himself up into 18th.
Another impressive bit of driving there from the Dutchman. Interestingly, Zvorinas seems to have stagnated a little bit in 22nd place. Now he's got both of the Westwoods in front of him.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be more of a challenge, but I think he got stuck for a while behind Takahashi. So I think that caught him. I think he's sort of only just really caught up to the back of the Westwood. So it'll be interesting to see, how that one goes. But he's now pretty much back where he qualified. As Hunter Ryan as well, who obviously pitted on the soft tyres, has now got past Thierry Zylander. Poor old Zylander. He spent most of this race in last place, despite people pitting.
Yeah, I think he's having a bit of a difficult weekend, all told.
He certainly is. As we said, qualifying yesterday, Zylander was one of those that was just left scratching the head slightly, like as we mentioned earlier, the Ocelot boys and the Westwood guys as well. Just really confusing one, as that is a mammoth train there, isn't it, behind Gabriele Garcia?
Oh, it's Zylander's just fallen off the back of it, as has Hunter Ryan. Now he's pitted ever so slightly, but he'll still be back on the back of it. But it's a good 14 car train, and oh wow, Van Schnellheid very, very much on the curb there, trying to find his way past Marcus Thunder.
Yeah, and I'd have expected this one to probably be one of the easy overtakes. Obviously, Lucas being a Downton customer team, but Thunder, I think Van Schnellheid took too much curb on the inside there. It didn't quite get the traction, and Marcus Thunder was able to drift fully back across and take the line into the following left-hander, as he usually would, giving Klaas no room to make that overtake that he's perfected in the last few laps. But he's passed Addison somewhere, actually. We've missed that one.
Yeah, don't forget though, well, I wouldn't happen to know what kind of power units Downton supply to its customers, but don't forget it's one of the stronger engines in the field for definite. That drivability will still very much be in the favour of Marcus Thunder as well as Van Schnellheid, so it might not be quite as simple if he's trying to overtake in the traction zones. I think that's what we're seeing with Ruiz as well. He's getting that similar kind of run, but Powers is just able to use those medium tyres to full effect to really push out the corners, so Ruiz doesn't really have an answer for him yet.
Yeah, most definitely is. Actually, just on Powers and Ruiz, they are now some 12 seconds behind Adrian Simon, and it is lap 22. So what did we work it out? 14 seconds for a pit stop? Although it has just shot up to 14 seconds. I think Simon must have just cut a corner. Oh, he's pitted.
He's just pitted. He just cut the final corner to go in the pits, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So Simon dives in then at the end of lap 22 for his second stop. So it's looking pretty nailed on for a sixth stopper here. As Klaas van Snelheid, the second lap in a row, struggling to get past Marcus Thunder. I wonder if the initial edge on those tyres has just gone off slightly. As indeed Simon does rejoin in third then, and Nathaniel Powers therefore takes the lead.
And Simon comes out only 2 seconds behind the race leaders, despite doing 2 more pit stops. I think that's the full extent of the different tyre strategies at play today.
This will be the telling moment now then, won't it? As to whether Adrian Simon can get past Enrique Ruiz or not.
Yeah, hopefully the two don't make contact like we may or may not have seen previously in races. However, I think that if Adrian Simon sits behind Powers and Ruiz...
Ruiz up the inside of the hairpin then. I wonder if he's going to be able to make the Klaas van Snelheid move. No, he's not. He doesn't get the traction out of it. But I tell you what, if he keeps trying that, what that could do is allow Adrian Simon the opportunity to drive around the outside of him.
Yeah,
as they get crossed up,
wow.
Ruiz is wide, and that is Adrian Simon then, surely with the opportunity now, around the outside of his teammate. It's a beautiful move from the Frenchman.
Great move as well, with the wash of 2 cars in front of him. He looked like he was all out of shape, but it managed to actually place the car really nicely for the following corner. So yeah, all that remains now is to get past Powers, and he can absolutely make the most of these fresh extra soft tyres.
Yeah, and I don't think this will be too difficult whatsoever. Powers is now on 23 lap old mediums. Adrian Simon is on 1 lap old extra softs. He's just brushed his teammate aside. It was admittedly a small error from Enrique Ruiz that aided him with the car breaking away. But yeah, this is going to be Simon's absolute. This could be like taking candy from a baby, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. What I was going to say before all that kicked off was that I think if Adrian Simon doesn't get as much time as he's hoping for here, I think he can still afford maybe 1 stint to be stuck behind someone, as long as for the rest of them he does manage to get that clear air, because the time he's making up in that single stint of clear air really is making the difference here.
Well, so yeah, I mean, when you consider he only had 6 laps, didn't he, really, in clear air, and nearly made up a pit stop anyway. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good result, I reckon, for Adrian Simon. He only needs to, He only needs to make up 2 pit stops on Ruiz, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's already made up 2 on Powers, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this really could be the result that kickstarts Adrian Simon's season. I think I'm biased in saying that I think he's driven really well for the most part this season, but he's just had some horrific luck, and I think hopefully the performance today, I don't want to put the commentator's curse on my own driver, but I think today he's on form.
He certainly is at the moment. Yeah, the pair of them looking very solid for a result here. It'd be interesting to see when Powers pits, actually, because if he's on a 1 stop, that could throw things up in the air a little bit, but I think he'll just be pleased to be mixing it with these guys at the moment. I think come the end of the race he's going to be nowhere near them.
I think, to be fair, he's doing a really good job of defending from Adrian Simon here. Simon is climbing all over the curve behind him, trying to find that gap, but the door just won't be prized open. Although, as I say that, he's managed to run round the outside, and can he get him through? Oh, wow. That's ambitious, perhaps, from Adrian Simon there. The inside at Cito Pons, I don't think is a really good overtaking opportunity. As you can see, he's almost lost half a second just from hitting that curve so hard on the inside. I think he needs a little bit more patience than this. He knows he's got the car underneath him to do it. He just needs to find the right moment rather than trying to take every single opportunity that presents itself.
Yeah, most definitely. That then was almost a carbon copy of what happened between Klaas van Snelheid and Milkovic earlier on. Simon gets very sideways, and that's given Enrique Ruiz a sniff. And I'll tell you what, these two battling. Powers is probably sat there going, do you know what, guys? Crack on. I am more than happy at the moment. As just slightly further back in the pack, Klaas van Snelheid has finally managed to get past Marcus Thunder and has already breezed past Alar Kanga as well and is up to 15th now.
really, yeah, no, he's doing pretty well there, Klaus van Snelheid, on a track that is supposed to be really difficult to overtake. He's really making those soft tyres work.
But yeah, where did he come back out? 21st?
Yeah, no, he's
Six
already
places
made
already in
six
about
places, yeah.
What? 9
yeah,
laps?
7, yeah, something like that.
Solid effort.
Yeah, I think with Simon there, that big moment he had around, my track maps just turned itself off, around the back of the circuit there. I think, again, we have set the car up quite a lot for running in the clear air that we would hope to get. I think while the car is more than capable of making these moves, it does look a little bit more of a handful than perhaps Adrian Simon and Enrique Ruiz would be liking at this stage of the race. It's just a question of hanging on to it, making those moves, and then they can benefit from the car being set up for the clear air.
Yeah, most definitely. As I get the feeling Simon is winding up to something here. He's not made a random stab recently.
Yeah, the race engineers will have been very much in his ear there, saying, just calm down, there's plenty of time, you've got the tyres.
Sideways again,
Whoa.
sorry, as Adrian Simon gets another tank slapper. And yeah, he's just struggling here, isn't it? I mean, his teammate, admittedly it was as we said, it was a small error from Ruiz, as we've just seen 2 from Simon in consecutive laps that allowed the Frenchman through. But yeah, Power's putting up a great defence here, driving solidly, no errors so far.
Oh, and Power's pits.
Well, that'll free Adrian Simon up nicely.
Right, so that's a relatively easy it's a very easy, in fact, 2-stop strategy there for Powers. About 3 laps per stint leeway either way, just in case anything happens towards the end. So, yeah, it'll be really good now, for me at least, to see Adrian Simon streaming away and see how much time he can put on Ruiz on those one step softer tyres.
Yeah, and that'll be, so I mean that is absolutely nowhere near a one-stopper, is it, on the medium tyres? So that's a very firm and solid 2. It'll be interesting to see now who in the midfield comes in and whether this helps or hinders them then. We've got, just looking at the front runners, Halverson, Vazquez, Wagner and Finn Schneider were the top 4 on the grid on the medium tyres. None of them have joined Powers in pitting at the end of lap 25.
No, they've all obviously been a little bit lighter on their tyres. A lot of them maybe not at 100%.
Is that Klaus van Snelheid? Klaus van Snelheid around the outside of Finn Schneider at turn 1!
Good grief.
And somewhere we've missed him overtaking Kinnaman and Davenport. Klaus is really going for it now, isn't he? To be fair, he's only got 2 more cars to go until he's at the front of that train.
That was, and then once he gets that clear air, nothing's going to stop him.
Well, apart from another pit stop, which will then put him all the way at the back again.
But speaking of pit stops, Powers has made his first stop of 2 during this race, and he's already got that second pit stop in hand over Felix Perez. That medium tyre, very much a good strategy if you've got the clear air compared to the hard.
Yeah, it's interesting here though. I don't think we're really seeing any of the 4 tyres because of how it's worked, and because we do have cars on the hard tyre as Klaas gets very loose at the rear end there, trying to follow Sergio Alvarez. Because of the way it's shaken out at the front of the grid, with we had the top 4 positions, the drivers all had a different compound of tyre. I think we're seeing that no one tyre compound is really proving any worse than the others.
Yeah, it's also unpredictable. Down the inside of the final corner, Klaus van Snelheid on Sergio Alvarez is going to get the traction out, and that's just ridiculous. Right, he's making a mockery of this at this point, isn't he, really? We were saying before the race, weren't we, that the first corner here is officially called Expo 92, which we think perhaps not the best of names for a corner on a circuit. To be honest, turn 1 after today, I'm quite happy to call it Klaus van Snelheid.
Yeah, most definitely. That's to overtake on the outside of turn 1, that's just insane.
Oh, it's just he's really making the most of a good car, a good set of tyres, and that tyre advantage. But he's making the most of it in a way that, as I say, we've only got 5 drivers that aren't on the medium or hard tyre, but he is really the only one that's consistently done it all race. We saw it with him relatively early on, but his pace seems to have just dropped off a little bit as he's been stuck behind cars which are more comparable on pace with him. But Van Snelheid, utterly brilliant again, and now he's past Garcia, got that 11 seconds of clear air. I mean, that's almost a pit stop. He's definitely not, I would say, going to end up towards the back, towards 21st position, like where he came out after his first stop. He's only going up from here.
Mind you, he is only I mean, he's only what 5-6 seconds clear of Hunter Ryan then in 21st position. As we get a couple of the midfield runners now, then 2 laps after Nathaniel Powers finally diving in, and that's Halverson and Vasquez. So Elroy Wagner's gone another one again. I wonder if Powers had damage.
I'm not sure. I think it's more likely that, in particular, with both of the two that pitted, so Vasquez and Halverson. Oh, as he's come out in front of his teammate, that's going to be crucial. He's managed to get the jump on a teammate running the hard tyres, so we'll have that clear air now, which is going to be really important not to ruin Halverson's race. But
tell you what, that could really hurt Klaas van Snelheid's attempts, though.
Yeah,
the fact that Halverson's got ahead of his teammate. Vasquez hasn't been quite so lucky, I think he'll probably struggle to get past the Brazilian as well.
No, I think you're right with that one. But what we're seeing here is that the guys in the midfield that have been in these trains, particularly the ones at the head of the midfield with the fastest cars, because they're stuck in a train behind Perez, or they were stuck behind Perez on the hard tyre. Ultimately, they didn't have to push the tyre so far. They could make it run longer because they're not extracting as much pace from it. So you can drive within yourself, drive within the tyre, just extend those stints out a little bit and just make everything just that little bit more comfortable and give you a bit more leeway should anything happen towards the end of the race.
That's very true, actually. Yeah. I say, interestingly, we've still got Elroy Wagner, who hasn't dived in, and Finn Schneider as well, who hasn't pitted yet on the mediums, but I believe... Oh no, Timo Kinnaman as well. And Marcus Thunder. But yes, indeed, so Wagner pits now, and I should imagine the other guys that I just reeled off will probably follow him in. And where is Wagner going to come back out then? Oh, I think Wagner might just get lucky here then. He's obviously lost out to Halverson, but no, he's just come out behind. No, he has. Yeah, sorry. I was looking at the timing screen, not the track. And indeed, Wagner has come out ahead of Garcia, and much to my surprise as well. And I'll apologise to James Vasquez. I didn't think he'd get past Gabrielli, but he has managed it. And he's already 2 seconds up the road.
We've seen a few times in his Formula Virtual career there, James Vasquez very good at making the opportune move exactly when it needs to be done. And I think he's managed it again here today. I think that could be almost a completely race-saving move for James Vasquez.
Yeah, most definitely. Which guys have we got on the mediums then who haven't quite made that work? So obviously Halverson has, Wagner has, and Vasquez has as well. But yeah, the likes of Finn Schneider then, Timo Kinnaman, Sergio Alvarez, and Alar Kanga. That's not, and Marcus Thunder as well then down there in last position at the moment. That's not worked at all.
Yeah, I think for the midfield, the medium was a lot more of a risk than it was for Powers in third place. And I'd say that the ones that have made it work, so Halverson, Vasquez, and Wagner, are very much the exception rather than the rule there. So yeah, they've done a good job, but I think there's been a little bit of good fortune to get them out ahead of the hard-tired runners, and now it's just up to them to make the most of it.
Most definitely. This might somewhat help Klaas van Snelheid. He will be pitting within the next lap or two on those soft tyres then, as will the man in second place, Enrique Ruiz, and we'll actually see Adrian Simon in very shortly, so they may well pit on the same lap.
Yeah, so as we're approaching half distance, all the stops appear to be converging just that little bit, so people will have made one stop to maybe Adrian Simon's 3 in this case by half distance. So everything will be converging at half distance. So we've got that kind of, the second half of the race still to go. Everything, we're going to have exactly the same thing again almost. So it's going to be really interesting to see who could really make the most of the new tyres on the in the lower fuel loads.
Yeah, it certainly will. So just on that, Ruiz doesn't quite have a gap over Nathaniel Powers yet.
No.
To make a pit stop, so that's really interesting. If Ruiz comes out in third, that could aid Simon massively.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely will. And by that point, if I'm correct, Ruiz having done 2 of his 3 stops with Powell with still 1 stop to go as well, that almost becomes a straight fight, even though Ruiz has softer tyres. If Ruiz comes out behind Powers with 1 stint to go for each of them, I'd probably still back the man in front, even if that's Powers on the harder tyre.
Well, yeah, we'll absolutely have to see how that one plays out. Meanwhile, just back with Klaas van Snelheid, then he's made his way back up to 7th, just ahead of Johan Halverson at the moment. Don't forget, he is literally 1 or 2 laps away from his pit stop, and I think that's really showing now on those soft tyres, because he's not actually able at all to pull away from Halverson on those fresh mediums.
Yeah, the drop-off looks like it's been really significant. And I think we're seeing a similar thing with Ruiz. He was about maybe 11, 12, bordering on 13 seconds ahead of Powers, and Powers has just started to reel him in a little bit more as well. So, yeah, the soft-tired runners, well, all three of them, sorry, starting to see the effects of the tyre wear here.
Yeah, definitely. So where's a roughly 14-second pit stop going to put Klaas van Snelheid? I think it's going to put him about Nick Addison, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, at least that's going to be less cars to overtake than it was last time. As indeed, at the end of lap 32, then comes Enrique Ruiz into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like routine pit stop as we anticipated. Ruiz there going to come out.
And indeed he has. Powers has already gone through then. Nathaniel Powers has already gone through into second. And in fact, Ruiz is some 3 seconds behind the 3-time champion. So that has not worked at all. Adrian Simon will be laughing in his crash helmet.
Yeah, ironically, Ruiz coming up back on the track from further back won't hurt him as much. So it doesn't really matter where behind Powers Ruiz comes out, because if he's behind him, he'll probably make the time up and be right behind him by the end of the stint. It's just a question of getting past. So it's strangely, the fact it went so wrong for Ruiz probably won't hurt him at all compared to it going about as wrong as it could have done going behind Powers anyway.
Yeah, most definitely. As I don't think we've got Klaas in the pits. No, so Klaas van Snelheid then has managed to go an extra stop. It's not an extra stop at all. It's an extra lap on this stint. That's not going to make any difference to how many stops he's going to have to make in this race, is it?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be about it as Adrian Simon enters the pits for his third stop.
Yeah, and Simon will rejoin unless something goes catastrophically wrong in this pit stop, which obviously I hope doesn't.
Well, I certainly hope not. But
Simon will rejoin comfortably in the lead as we watch Nathaniel Powers then coming round the final hairpin, and Adrian Simon is already leaving the pit lane.
Yeah, no, it's all going really well for Adrian Simon at the moment. The strategy is working itself out perfectly. Something I just want to point out, that Perez in fourth, 34 seconds off the lead and yet to pit. Hoskins right behind on the same tyres, but also Jean Matson. I was going to say after about 5 laps of this race, I was impressed that Matson in the Ingram was managing to hold on. Halfway through the race, I'm still impressed that Matson in the Ingram is managing to hold on to both first cars. That's really impressive stuff from the Frenchman.
Yeah, and as if by magic, there he is on screen. I hadn't actually picked up on that one. That is a phenomenal effort from Jean Matson, as Klaas van Snelheid behind him still doesn't pit.
I think it's the epitome of a Jean Matson drive, isn't it, really? And to be fair, to an extent, an Ingram drive. Quiet, very solid, and ultimately pops up and just shows how impressive it can be right towards the end.
Yeah, most definitely. Matson then could be on for a very solid 6th place here then, or at least I think maybe it's a bit too early to start calling positions, because I mean we have no idea how the tyre strategy is going to shake out come the end of this race. But yeah, Matson could be on for some very solid points here, able to stick with both of the first guys. That's a really, really solid effort. Now that you pointed it out, I am so impressed by that.
No, it's not bad at all, is it? It'll be interesting as well to see how Matson can cope with Klaas van Snelheid behind him. I anticipate that while there is the 2-step difference in the tyres, Matson may well prove quite a lot more of a roadblock, or a stumbling block, shall we say, rather than a roadblock to van Snelheid than pretty much the rest of the field behind has. Yeah,
almost definitely. And I think the fact that Klaas should have pitted 2 laps ago as well, so his tyres are probably crying by now, is also going to have an effect.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. As Ruiz completely bottled up behind Nathaniel Powers once again. I think he's getting a really good look at the gearbox and rear wing assembly of that Downton.
You'll be able to ask him. You'll be able to ask him to draw it blindfolded after this race. as Klaas does finally pit then, and actually going that little bit longer might. I wonder if he's going to clear Garcia here. I wonder if that's what Downton were aiming for. Just holding Klaas van Snelheid out to get him a little bit longer on those tyres. Yeah. Indeed, I think it has worked absolutely beautifully. Klaas van Snelheid rejoins in 10th, and he's some 5 seconds clear then of Gabriele Garcia, and he's now got, 11 up the road to Elroy Wagner. That second, the first stint went horribly wrong. The second one has worked out beautifully. And not only that, but there is another 11 seconds of clear air in front of him. He's got all the potential to make up another pit stop before anything else happens. Hasn't he just? That second stint might have just saved Klaas van Snelheij's race as as Adrian Simon bangs in another ridiculous fastest lap. Meanwhile, behind him, Ruiz stuck up behind Powers, as we mentioned. The gap already between the top two is just over 9 seconds. 5 more, and Adrian Simon has a pit stop in hand, and that will be the 2 that he needed, I believe, over Ruiz.
I think you are absolutely right, yeah. I think, yeah, this is the sort of race that Adrian Simon has really needed, as I've said. His pace has been absolutely on the money. Strategy's working out really well for him. It's just an opportunity for him to get in the car and drive without overthinking it. So, really pleased with his performance as his technical director. From a spectacle point of view, I think that the different strategies playing out. We've still got 4 different compounds in the top 4, so I think that highlights just how good the tyre formula that we have in Formula Virtual is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. As Ruiz, he's obviously not learned from that one, has he? He's not watched the videos. He was trying up the inside of the hairpin. It's not going to work, mate.
No, there's one thing that we can say about Enrique Ruiz. He will never stop looking for that gap.
I don't know, he definitely won't.
Admittedly, as you know, he's on my team, but I am more than happy to say as well, he sometimes goes for gaps that aren't there.
Are you referring to a certain British V-Prix earlier this year?
No, I couldn't possibly comment. I think what we do see from Enrique Ruiz is that he is the stereotypical bullish South American. He's extraordinarily fast on his day, and usually it is his day, to be fair. He's just very, very aggressive on overtakes, and I think today, though, we are seeing a little bit more of a measured approach, despite his clambering all over the curbs at points. So I think he is building up to something. I think we will be able to see a really good move from Ruiz imminently, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just going to cut across you there. Speaking of moves, Carson Davenport in the Lucas has just gone past Gabriele Garcia in the North Star for 11th place.
Fantastic, and that on the hard tyre as well. So that's not even assisted by tyre.
That's pure pace.
Yeah.
To be fair, that might be why. I think that is Garcia's. Okay, that's not quite as impressive as we initially thought it might be. But even so, Davenport's up to 11th. That's not bad. But yeah, Gabriele Garcia then trailing smoke from the Ford engine in the back of that North Star, and Garcia will very shortly be pulling over to the side of the track to become the first retirement here in Spain. Then.
Yeah, that engine looks like it's very much about to cry enough, and hopefully it doesn't dump motorcraft oil all over the circuit.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's chucking it firmly into the face of Nick Addison as Carl Beckenbauer trying to take advantage of this and look up the inside. Sneaky little move up the inside of Nikolai Milkovic, but that one doesn't work. But you can see how much time this is costing all of these guys behind Garcia, because Davenport is already 2 seconds up the road.
Wow. But looking at just looking at the time of the screens here, we've got Marcus Thunder and Thierry Zanin with a fierce battle for 23rd place. They keep swapping positions. It seems like every couple of corners at this point.
Yeah, I think, well, to be fair, obviously they're all stacked up behind this at the moment, so I very much get the impression they're almost running side by side. Garcia is going that slow as finally Nick Addison goes through. I tell you what, if Garcia doesn't pull fully off the track when this engine finally gives up the ghost, this could cause a bit of carnage and swap a few cars around.
I do get the horrible feeling all hell is about to break loose. As on lap 38 we have Felix Perez, the first hard tyre runner to pit, dropping all the way down to 10th place, it would appear.
So what was it? Yeah, so he's going to be comfortably clear enough of Davenport to come out in 10th. And I don't think, I mean, that's clearly going to be his only stop. I don't think that's going to be horrendous for Perez.
No, I think
by any means. I think this is going to earn them a fairly solid result. It's just that it's going to be at literally the slowest pace possible.
Oh, definitely. I think he's going to get the undercut on Hoskins and Matson, so he's going to extend that length, extend that gap, I would imagine. And then behind him, as you say, this train with Garcia is running. It looks a good 2 or 3 seconds a lap off the pace, but it's so difficult to overtake here at points. That who was that in the Westwood that got overtaken around the outside by 2 cars?
That was Carl Beckenbauer then, who lost out there to both Alok Kanga and his teammate Puccio Giordano. I think we're seeing this quite a lot. Obviously, cars are being held up and they're not holding the racing line, and that's costing them positions as Garcia has now lost out to I mean, obviously he's about to retire, so it doesn't matter anyway. But Addison and Milkovic have gone through, so they've got a little bit of breathing space over the rest of the train, and this will help them somewhat. It'll break things up a little. As Giordano's done Kanga as well. This is Giordano's overtaken 3 cars in 1 lap. That's brilliant.
There we go. The North Star grinds to a halt firmly. However, 1 minute 25 seconds behind the lead is Zviranas and Thierry Zylander. What was Simon's fastest lap?
That would be a minute 25 then.
Yeah, so...
And indeed, Garcia has been lapped before he ticks over on the timing screens as being retired. So yeah, Adrian Simon is romping rapidly up to the back of these guys. I think he'll be glad that Garcia's out of the way, because they won't be quite as slow as they were a second ago. But
luckily, it would appear luckily for Simon, it would appear that the hard-tired runners are making their stops, which means at least he'll get past those without too much incident. But there's still going to be a good, maybe 5 or 6 medium-tired runners in front of him that he's going to have to navigate safely. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. And in fact, yeah, the gap to Powers in second has already dropped.
And that's Carl Beckenbauer, sorry then, coming out right between... I didn't think you could get a cigarette paper in between Powers and Ruiz. The Brazilian was that close. Whoa. He's come out right between them, but he's spun off. So Beckenbauer then, and yeah, Carl Beckenbauer, he came out right in front of Enrique Ruiz and then decided to spin off.
Yeah, I think on cold tyres comes out, sees the defending world champion behind him.
Panicked.
I think sod that for a game of Skittles, and then ends up facing him. So yeah,
I've never heard that phrase before.
Have you not?
No, Game of Soldiers, yeah.
That's that. I think that was a bit of a. Oh, hang on, we're losing. Adrian Simon is losing the lead rapidly here.
No.
And
that's Adrian Simon. The race leader then is in the wall here in Jerez. And it's all gone wrong somewhere for Adrian Simon. He slipped from first, he slipped from second. Simon is down to third, and I don't know what's going on. I'd almost say that there appears to be an issue there somewhere for Adrian Simon. He cannot get that car out of the wall.
Yeah, it looks like it won't go into reverse. Oh, wow, that's...
So
incredible.
What on earth has happened here then for Adrian? Yeah, he keeps trying, doesn't he? But it seems there might be an issue with that gearbox. He's not getting it into reverse. On the replay then, he was up the inside of lapping Alvarez and just spun it off. And as he tried to recover then, I think there might have been an issue there.
Yeah.
I think as he tagged Alvarez, that might have broken the steering. As he tried to recover, it just snapped back to the right and put him in the tyre barrier.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. Unfortunately,
unfortunately then, as we see at the side, Adrian Simon is out of the Spanish V-Prix from what looked to be a solid lead and what looked to be on for his first victory of the season.
Yeah, he is. If he didn't have bad luck, he would have no luck at all. I think
certainly the way this year is going.
That is utterly devastating for the Frenchman. However, we now have a really, really good race for the lead. Wow.
That's heartbreaking for Simon. He's had such bad luck this year. In Silverstone, he was miles clear, and he should have won. And then, obviously, firstly got knocked out of the way. But that's a Franklin without a rear wing as well?
It is, yes.
That is Chiara Thunder actually. So and that's held up Powers, and Ruiz has gone through. Ruiz then takes the lead as Chiara Thunder. So Franklin's still getting involved in scraps for the lead, even though they're not actually at the front.
Unbelievable. So we've seen in 2 separate incidents the back markers here changing the complexion of the race completely. And as one of my favourite commentators of other series says, traffic giveth and traffic taketh away. Very difficult to say. Are we about to see where Addison loses his rear wing? Indeed we are. Oh, wow.
It was Chiara Thunder, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, yes. He did very well there she did very well to keep hold of the car and avoid it spearing off into the wall with that spin. But we've seen one of the Malachor Porsches, removed from the race lead unceremoniously. And we've seen another one take the lead because of misfortune for Nathaniel Powers. So that is, wow, the ups and downs of Formula Virtual really on show here today.
Yeah, most definitely. And that could really help Enrique Ruiz now then. So where are we looking in terms of the next pit stops for either of the top 2? Because let's be fair, no one behind them is catching them.
So for Ruiz, I'm anticipating about lap 48. and Powers, if I remember correctly, maybe 52.
Yeah, because it was about 25, 26, wasn't it? That Powers dived in. So Ruiz now then has 6 laps that he probably wasn't expecting to extend an advantage over Nathaniel Powers, and this could really help him here.
Yeah, I think that if for this entire stint that he'd been stuck behind Nathaniel Powers, I think it would have been very much game on for who was going to take the race win. I think that for Ruiz now, if he can make the most of it, well, it's not necessarily clear air because he still has to navigate the traffic, but if he can make the most of any bits of track that aren't occupied by a car at this point and extend that gap a little bit, it really could change his result here. This is a crucial stage of the race.
And not run into them.
That would also be very useful. I think what we saw there with Adrian Simon with that move is that he was trying to maximise his performance through the traffic, and he was there. So he did have the inside line. I think he was trying to be very bold and make sure, because one of the things you've got to do when you're lapping cars is make your presence very much felt. Otherwise, if you kind of half bake a move, the car will turn in on you, and you're going to lose time at best, and then you're going to have an accident at worst. I think, unluckily there for Adrian Simon, by trying to be bold and by trying to do that, he did just lose out a little bit, possibly. So, swings and roundabouts, very unlucky, as we've said, but these things do happen.
Yeah, I think what's unfortunate is that, we've seen so many times an incident like that just resulting in a simple spin, and the driver might lose a bit of time and then carry on unaided or unharmed, unhindered. But yeah, that really cost Adrian Simon, unfortunately. So obviously, something must have broken on the front of the car as him and Alvarez made contact, because that was the way it then snapped into the wall when he was recovering was very, very strange indeed. And then it just seemed to be a myriad of things going wrong for the poor Frenchman, didn't it? That happened, which put him in the wall, and then he couldn't get the car into reverse to get out of the wall. And
I don't know whether the impact with the wall possibly jarred the gearbox or something at the wrist. It's all very strange, but these things happen.
I'm sure we'll hear once Porsche get the car back and are able to.
Oh, absolutely. We've already got guys looking at the telemetry, but that's really, really possibly the death knell for his championship already. I'd potentially say, because he was already a fair way back, and unfortunately today, what looked like it may well be managing to claw some points back with his first win. Again, it looks like he's going to lose out big time here.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this race then, Adrian Simon was already a win, exactly, 25 points behind Enrique Ruiz in the championship. And Ruiz now not streaking clear of Powers, but he's starting to pull out a bit of a gap, and I think this is absolutely going to help him now in between, in their little battle in what looks to be for the win, because, I mean, everyone else is 3/4 of a minute behind. Yeah, if Ruiz wins here, that's 2 wins clear.
Yeah, for sure. And as we've got with the 16 race calendar that we've got this year, after race 7, that's almost halfway through the championship. It's going to take a really big swing back in Adrian Simon's favour. So we may find now that Enrique Ruiz's greatest threat for the championship either comes outside of the Porsche team, or indeed comes from himself.
I was going to say, I think the greatest threat to Ruiz's championship is going to be Ruiz, frankly. As we've seen in almost every season beforehand.
I think it's a difficult one because everybody knows how highly I rate both Adrian Simon and Enrique Ruiz. I feel like Simon's poor luck has masked a lot of his potential and a lot of his pace throughout the year, but it cannot be doubted that Enrique Ruiz is taking that car to heights that everybody very much expected him to.
Yeah, almost definitely. But I think where Simon's had the bad luck, Ruiz has had the absolute flip side, with the exception of last time out in France, where his gearbox expired while comfortably leading.
Yeah.
Ruiz, every time it's gone wrong for Simon, it's fallen into Ruiz's lap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah. I mean, as bad luck goes, having the team car then benefiting from it and maximising performance, that would be the ideal worst case scenario, if you like. As we see Zviranas pitting down, right back down to, looks like going to be around 20th position. Interestingly, Jean Matson, after praise upon him for being so close to the two first. Looks like he's dropped about 4 or 5 seconds off the back of
That's
them
still
now.
a solid effort though. That first is a race
very
winner.
Solid effort. Yeah, I think
Ingram has scored what, 9 points?
Yeah, I think all we're seeing there is that first on the fresh hard tyres, really being able to extend the margin, and yeah, bit of interesting. Perhaps Matson may be able to slightly bring that gap back in, as it appeared he did in the previous stint.
Yeah, most definitely. It will certainly one to keep an eye on. What is interesting, obviously, now with the Porsche Mathishaw out of the race once again. This is crikey. That's sorry, I'm going to rub it in here. That's the third race in a row, isn't it? That one of them hasn't finished.
Yep.
That could be quite significant in the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, last time out in France, Downton took the lead and held it by a slender 4 points, but hold it nonetheless. As it stands, Downton, if the race were to finish now, would be scoring 26 points. So,
yes.
I mean, okay,
so actually, extend the lead.
It's only extending it by 1, but it's extending it nonetheless as it stands.
Extending it by 20% even. So yeah, no, absolutely. And
you say it like that, and it sounds brilliant, and then you realise it's still only going to be 4 points. 5, sorry.
Now, every time the race leader now goes past the back mark, I'm going to flinch ever so slightly, but that's fair enough.
We've all been there, especially here at Jerez.
Yes. Looking at Van Schnellheide in 6th place, he's right on the back of Elroy Wagner, who is on the medium tyre, as are Vasquez and Halverson.
Yeah.
If he manages to get this right, for Van Schnellheide, is a podium on the cards, do you think? Because
I don't know. I think he's somewhat stagnated a little bit, has Klaas Van Schnellheide, and I think he's stuck up behind Wagner now. But Klaas has, So he's got one more stop to make, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And as do the medium-tide runners ahead of him. So bearing in mind he is so close to Halverson, Vasquez, and Wagner, I think that's going to be comfortable for Klaas. He'll pit earlier. He should come out in the clear air ahead of Puccio Giordano.
Yes.
And that should help him quite considerably. Although I think he'll approach Matson pretty quick, and then it will be a case of how many cars in that Perez, Hoskins, Matson train he can get past. And as it stands, Klaas is looking on for, funnily enough, 6th place where he is currently. But it will be a case of how many of those overtakes he can pull off. Yeah,
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how whether or not Van Schnellheide can continue what can only be described as an incredible drive thus far. James Vasquez as well. So I've been heaping praise upon Matson, but Vasquez in the other Ingram again has been doing a really solid job.
Yeah, he absolutely has. Vasquez. But then I suppose we need to look at this and go, how much of that actually is the car? How much has that car improved? They started the season and they weren't brilliant. They were sort of like probably bang in the middle of the midfield, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that car is now coming towards the front of the midfield. In practice last time out in France, both cars were solidly in the top 10. Qualifying went a little bit wrong and the race then went very wrong for them. But here again they've done the same, solidly, as we've got a yellow flag, and I've just noticed the gap between Powers and Ruiz has disappeared to absolutely nothing. But you're right, Wagner's actually the one that's lost time. And Wagner is continuing to do so. So I think that might be Elroy Wagner making it 3 retirements from this race, and indeed there he is then, the Lopez parked up at the side of the track, and that is yet another smoking Porsche engine.
Yes, that Porsche engine looks like it's very much heading for the barbecue.
Maybe he'll whack some sausages out while he's there and give it to the crowd.
Crucially there, he managed to kick the clutch in just enough that so that the rear axle didn't fully lock. So he managed to coast it off the track, because where it did expire would have been an extraordinarily dangerous position.
Yeah, most definitely. As this traffic is really playing into the hands of Nathaniel Powers. The entire 4-second gap that Ruiz had gained has been absolutely obliterated.
Yeah.
I think we've suddenly got a race on.
Very much so. I think the back markers today really having an influence on the race. don't forget that with the back markers in general, although they'll be getting blue flags, although they'll be warned, the impetus is very much on the passing driver to make the move for the leader. We've got... Is
that's
Addison?
Yeah, that's Nick Addison then. So I think he was watching his mirrors there, seeing Ruiz and Powers coming up behind him and trying to move out of the way, and just drifted ever so slightly too far to the left, braked on the grass, and that just looped the Franklin round. I think that's the first mistake we've seen from Addison this season.
Yeah, I think he's been very impressive. I do have to find it funny though that while Adrian Simon is hitting all the back markers, every time Enrique Ruiz comes up to one, that's the second time this race, they've all just decided to spin out of his way. He's got a force field that he can exert upon everybody just to move him out of the way. And he comes into the pits.
He's decided he's had enough of back markers.
Yeah, I can't say I blame him.
Yeah, so Ruiz dives in then and leaves Powers to deal with the traffic. I tell you what, that could actually help Ruiz considerably if he comes out in something like clear air. Powers is still going to be mired in that traffic, and Ruiz is going to get hatfuls of time.
Yeah, any clear air for Ruiz now, and it looks like
look at that. Sorry,
5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, it does look like he's got some solid clear air. He's come out 12.5 seconds behind Powers. I'm just noticing, last time I looked a couple of laps ago, this is how much time the back markers have cost them. Johan Halvorsen was 45 seconds behind Powers and Ruiz in the lead. It's now, it's back up to 41. It was down to 40.
Oh wow! Yeah, this is I was saying those guys are going to eventually reach the back markers as well. So it will level itself out somewhat. But yeah, the front two really struggling with these back markers around such a tight circuit.
Yeah, they absolutely. You reckon they'll reach the back markers? They've got a pit again yet.
That's very true, yeah.
I don't think they will. I don't think these guys are going to lap anyone. Apart from Chiara Thunder, who's obviously been lapped by the whole field because she spent 2 laps in the pits taking on board a new rear wing.
Yes.
But yes, this is Nathaniel Powers then. Oh my god. And in fact, that is Nikolai Milkovic unlapping himself.
Yeah, two people just unlapped themselves.
Oh, did Davenport manage it as well?
Davenport and Milkovic both unlapped themselves there.
So that was as Powers then was trying to pass his former teammate Marcus Thunder, and Thunder doing him absolutely no favours here at all. But then I get the impression that their relationship didn't quite end particularly well when it was. Because obviously they were teammates at Downton for a good 3 seasons, weren't they?
Yeah.
Until the end of 2016, when Thunder mysteriously left the team to make room for Klaas van Snelheid, and the team principal, me, did say during 2016 that it would be a scrap between Powers and Thunder for that second seat alongside Klaas in 2016. It was obviously Powers that got it.
Yeah.
But despite, I think you'd have to say Thunder arguably having, definitely a better 2015. And
yeah.
I know Powers did score more points in our atrocious 2016, didn't he, actually? But not by a lot. We only scored about 9 points in the whole year.
So looking, oh wow, another. So even in clear air, Ruiz front end very grippy compared to the rear. So yeah, it's an interesting one, this, and he does appear he's made about 3 seconds on Powers. Powers in the traffic though, I think he's taking a pragmatic approach. He knows that at worst here he's pretty much on for second place unless something catastrophic happens.
Don't say that.
If the odd back marker gets past him, it's an infinitely better result than, well, we've seen it already. It's an infinitely better result than somebody turning.
We've got a yellow flag. The final sector, and Ruiz has lost time. Enrique Ruiz then, he's right, so he's running again. We've got him there. I wonder what happened. I wonder if that spinning is catching on.
Yeah, that's...
2 people have spun off the track in front of him. Here we go then. On board with Ruiz. This is coming up to lap Nick Addison. And indeed. So he just ran wide, trying to get past Addison into the final corner then. And onto the back marker, and for the second time in this race, a Porsche Mathishaw, while trying to lap a back marker, has come to grief. But thankfully this time, Ruiz is able to carry on as Klaas van Snelheid pits for the final time here in Spain today.
Yeah, Ruiz just dipping a rear wheel on the grass there, under braking. Really, well, it's not going to work. He's going to spin the car. I think that's Ruiz again. He's really pushing on to try and make up that time, taking risks. While, as I've said, Powers a little bit more pragmatic, happy to kind of concede a couple of seconds here and there because he knows it's going to keep him in the race, it may well, end up as that's the way to the best approach here to get the win on the day.
Yeah, I'll just go back to that in a second. As Klaas van Snelheid rejoins after his pit stop, just behind John Matson then. So he does indeed have 3 cars to pass if he's to get himself onto the podium here today. But yeah, it almost seems as though well, that's
one of them.
as Klaas van Snelheid just drives clean around the outside of John Matson. Well, that was easy as you like, wasn't it? That was the corner that he did all his overtakes in 2017. I remember it now.
Yeah.
He's Klaas having a bit of a throwback there.
I think Van Snelheid, I think he's been particularly impressive on the fresh rubber, and everyone it's easy to say, he's got fresh tyres, they're softer compound, he should be faster.
He's in a better car as well.
Well, he's a better car, but we've seen how difficult it is to overtake. There aren't that many people making those kinds of moves, so it still takes an extraordinary amount of skill to do that kind of move, and he's just absolutely been on it today.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, back up at the front, I'm starting to wonder if maybe Porsche Mathsure are trying to throw this race powers his way.
I can assure you we're not, but we're making it look really difficult, aren't we?
You certainly are.
Oh, jeez.
But Powers does have another pit stop, doesn't he?
Yes.
Oh, that's the point.
Yeah.
Powers has another pit stop. Ruiz is done.
Well,
never mind. This is
that's very true, isn't it?
This
actually,
we're here billing it up, and actually, Ruiz has got this comfortably, unless he throws it off the road again.
Powers in this lap, but I still think Powers in this lap, it's going to dump him in that clear air, a little bit of clear air. If Ruiz comes up to some more strife with the back markers, as indeed Powers pits this lap, I don't think this race is entirely over yet. I think this has all the hallmarks of a really good endurance race, and I think that's the sort of thing we see at Jerez all the time. It's not necessarily a barnstormer in terms of overtakes, although today, to be fair, we've seen more than our fair share of action. It's the tyre strategy, it's the teams coming into play showing what they can do, and it's a slow burner, but it's so entertaining that I think that these kinds of races, you see drama abound, and so the 8-second gap for Nathaniel Powers. So yeah, on the face of it, this one looks like it might be going the way of Enrique Ruiz, but in front of him, he's not got a clear track, so it's all to play for still. Yeah,
well, there's a train from Finn Schneider in 11th. Bloody hell. That's he's got a pit again, hasn't he? But even so, that's a good effort so far, all the way down to Zviranas in 19th. And that is who Enrique Ruiz will have to lap next.
Yeah, and on the extra soft tyres, that's not going to be particularly easy, because even if he's bottled up behind Carl Beckenbauer, he's going to get traction out of all the corners.
Yeah, certainly will be. So, this will be an interesting one for... I thought he was going to lose it there.
I thought we were going to see the Ruiz spinning in effect there, but...
Yeah, Zviranas looks very ragged at the moment, doesn't he? But really this could absolutely play into the hands of Powers then. In fact, he's already gained half a second this lap from when he came out of the pits. Indeed, you could be right. It might not be race over, although Ruiz round the outside of Zviranas in the final corner. I don't think he's going to make that one work, but he might on the exit. There's all over the curb, and that's going to give him the inside line for turn 1, and Zviranas backs out of it then, does let the race leader through.
Yeah, on the outside there, millimetres away from braking on the grass again. He's either learnt his lesson and he's learnt how to optimise that move, or he's still pushing a little bit too hard for my liking. This is... wow.
Klaas has passed Hoskins.
Oh,
Klaas
wow,
van Snelheid then, we saw him overtake Matson, and he's now through and past Will Hoskins, and tucks right up behind Felix Perez for the second time in this race. They were together at the start, and they're together now again at the end. And this then is what we expect to be for the final podium position.
I said that I had a feeling that Van Snelheid, if he could make the overtakes work, was going to be in with a shout. So it'll be interesting to see how him and Perez fight for this final part of the race, particularly as Perez's tyres will start to wear by the end, and the difference in the compound may well start to show.
Matson's just going to lose out here, and he's going to be done by his teammate.
Yeah.
Isn't he? Vasquez has got 15 seconds over his teammate John Matson. So when Halverson and Vasquez on those medium tyres come into the pits, this lap, next lap, very, very shortly indeed, they're going to slot into that gap between Will Hoskins and John Matson.
Yeah, the tyre differential already starting to show here for Klaas van Snelheid. I can see him very easily going around the outside at turn 5 at Cito Ponza, his favourite corner of the circuit.
Well, here's hoping, but let's not forget, you know, he did Hoskins off the line earlier in the race, but did get stuck behind Felix Perez. He whatever he threw at the Mexican, the newest race winner in Formula Virtual, just soaked up, and he would not let the Dutchman through. And well, Klaas will be desperate to turn that one around. We'll have to see how that plays out, as we have a very brief yellow flag in the first sector. Don't see anything notable on timing screens. Gap at the front, down to 6 seconds. Ruiz seems to still be stuck in a little bit of traffic.
Absolutely. I think with Perez as well. Like today, it's a slightly
there we go. Sorry, the
quieter
medium tire runners dive into the pits then. Halverson and Vasquez, and well, they should rejoin in what will be 6th and 7th, I believe.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see whether Vasquez coming out first. No, it hasn't held Halverson up at all. I was thinking whether that'd be a factor in assisting Matson ever so slightly. But no, they're out absolutely comfortably.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're closer to Hoskins than they are Matson.
But they are, aren't they? But Perez, so it's been a slightly quieter performance just by virtue of... So for a guy that's always been lauded as one of the best on the softer tyres, today he's made the hard tyres work better than anybody else, including his teammates. So I think now
Has he?
we're going to...
Has he, or has he just benefited from the fact that he qualified ahead of everyone else? And he was the highest runner on the hard tyres?
That is a very fair point, to be fair. But
you know, I mean, let's look at the hard... Right, so... If we just go on a hard tyred grid, Perez was at the front, which he still is, and then it was Hoskins, yep, but then it was Matson, yep,
which it still is,
and then it was Garcia, who's retired, so you have to take him out of it. So fourth was Davenport.
In fairness, then it's Davenport, and I'm pretty sure
because everyone in between him is on the mediums.
Absolutely.
In fact,
and then
if everyone in between him is on the mediums, Davenport could be on for 11th place here.
He may well be, yeah. And looking down the order, I think that there is extraordinarily little variation between where if you take the hard tyred runners in isolation, I think all that's happened is that there are some people on other tyres that have slotted in between in this race.
Yeah, pretty much exactly that, I think.
Wow.
There are cars side by side there in front of Powers. The gap now down to just under 4.5 seconds. Ruiz is definitely struggling with the traffic more than Powers is.
Yeah. It's a classic thing though with on these kinds of circuits where you get so much traffic all the time that what usually happens is the leader opens the door, and once the leader's through, the guy that's overtaken immediately has in their mind there's going to be more of them, and well, in this case there's only going to be one, which is Powers, but it means that they are just that little bit more aware. As I thought Van Schnellhaub was going to have a look down the inside of Felix Perez there. But yeah, they just get that little bit more spatial awareness, if you like, and then they'll let the guy in second through that little bit easier. And I think, although that is 3 seconds in quick succession for Powers, looks like.
It is, yeah.
Oh yes, he's lost his front wing.
And that, yeah, you're quite right. Then Nathaniel Powers there at the final corner without a front wing on that downturn, and because of that, he's missed the pit lane. He'll have to complete a full lap here in Jerez. Before diving in the pits, we've got a yellow flag in the middle, and that's the other Downton of Klaas Van Snelheid. So Downton, within one lap, have absolutely fallen apart. Klaas doesn't look to have any damage then, but trying to pass Perez, it's gone a bit wrong. So here we go. So we're on board with Powers then. This is the first incident. So very, very, in fact, a carbon copy of what Ruiz did a couple of laps ago. And as he was recovering, just clipped that front wing on the Armco barrier. I mean, he's some 37 seconds clear of Perez, so he should comfortably be able to pit and rejoin still in second.
Yeah, he's absolutely going to be fine, and actually he's not losing that much time to Ruiz, who appears to still be bottled up behind traffic.
Yeah, but Klaas, this could cost Klaas considerably.
That very
he's
much
now
so.
fallen behind Hoskins on the hard tyres, and then Halverson and Vasquez on fresh mediums, and that will be very difficult to get past indeed.
Yeah, that's tough for the Dutchman. But Powers, he's been so patient all race. I was praising him for it. I think he just ran out of patience, saw the run, and as you say, he just dropped the wheel onto the grass like Ruiz did.
I think he could see it, couldn't he? He could see the gap coming down and sensed that this was his chance. He needed to make those positions there and then if he was going to make this work. Indeed, there and into the pits comes Nathaniel Powers as Finn Schneider pulls out just in front of him, but thankfully it doesn't look like Powers had to slow at all.
Yeah, I think again that's the classic case of traffic giving with one hand and taking away with the other. It happens to drivers and between drivers. it's a really interesting dynamic. And over the course of, if the race is long enough, generally it balances itself out. The risk is that in a race like this, where you're more of a sprint race format, things are going to happen that don't happen to everybody. But in fairness to what's happened today with Ruiz and Powers, at least, it's all balanced itself out. Unfortunately for Adrian Simon, he was the one that ended up with terminal damage from it.
Yeah, almost definitely. As I mean, that was a clear case of I wasn't actually listening to what you were saying, because I was looking at the timing screens. Alar Kanga then has made his final pit stop and rejoined in 10th position. Kanga and Giordano getting clear of who was it? It was Garcia, wasn't it? When Garcia's engine was going wrong.
Yes.
And the guys got through past him. As that's Halverson around the outside of Will Hoskins. Johan Halverson, that wasn't a move I was expecting at all. Halverson goes up to 4th.
That was incredible.
And that almost looked easy. As Vasquez looks to the inside, has Hoskins got a problem here? Because this looks a bit weird. I mean, Halverson is just driving away from him.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm trying to. There's no visible signs. There's nothing looking like brake problems or anything like that.
Oh, he was squirrely there.
Yeah, we have seen a Ford engine that's expired once this race, so it could be something to do with that.
Yeah, but this is very strange then for Will Hoskins. I mean, Halverson has disappeared into the distance. So he's a second and a half clear already. I think there's definitely an issue with that first.
Yeah, I think you are right. Just remains to be seen whether or not it's bad enough that it's going to cost him a result with 9 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one then. But yeah, Giordano and Kanga, obviously, they were able to get through past Garcia and just gained, it was only a couple of seconds on the rest of what was that former train, but it looks as though it's really aided them. They're up in 9th and 10th at the moment, and could be on for the tail end of the points here. Just behind them as well, Carson Davenport in 11th. That could prove absolutely crucial for Lucas, because an 11th place would move them past Chima and out of Q1.
Wow, now
and Davenport has no more stops to make. He's on the hard tyres.
Yeah, and in fairness to Thierry Zylander,
oh yeah, that's a brilliant drive, isn't it?
Nowhere. Again, he's the sort of driver that today I just completely overlooked him the entire race, and suddenly he pops up there.
I mean, considering Zylander spent 90% of this race running around in last.
Yeah.
That's a really solid effort from the Belgium. Another one that's relatively impressive. Yukimi Takahashi up there in 16th, again on the hard tyres.
Yeah. And for all we've been talking about traffic and things like that, Zviranas has made his way up to 15th on the extra soft tyre.
Yeah, that's not bad. When I looked, I think it was about lap 49 or so that I looked, and the two Ocelots were running in last and second to last. And you thought, okay, that tyre strategy seems to have gone a little bit wrong. But they're, okay, it's not where they want to be, but the qualifying went a bit wrong. They've gained ground from that. I think they could be, I mean, they won't be satisfied with this result. It's not scoring points. But I don't think it's gone as badly as it could have done.
Well, no, because I'll be honest with you, I think starting from where they did on the grid, if they'd have gone for the same tyre strategy as everybody else, I don't think they'd have done better than what they've where they've ended up today. I think they would have just been caught in different things, or caught up in different trains in different incidents. So
absolutely, I agree more.
I'm speechless. That's the problem. I've never watched a Formula Virtual race where I haven't been left at least a little bit impressed by the tyre strategy in the way that everything, considering how different an approach each team takes, everybody always ends up roughly where they are on merit. There's obviously a few races where you get a tyre call that goes completely wrong, and it costs somebody. Well, yes, but
Star in Japan. Although Nick will hate me for bringing that one back up. Sorry.
Or go completely the opposite way around, and it's a tyre strategy that nobody thinks is going to work, and suddenly by complete fortune or by complete skill on the part, genius, that's the word I'm looking for, they pull a result out of the bag from nowhere. And again, we've seen that this season, haven't we?
Yes, like Ruiz in Australia or Ruiz in South Africa.
Hang on, well, those were genius. I'm thinking more of Kanga in Japan.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'd refer to that probably more as luck, but
That's what I'm getting at, Bradley. It's all right. I feel that you're not listening fully because your timing screen of Candy Crush, I think, is getting to you here, isn't it?
No, it's not that. It's I'm just looking at the timing screens on the side as Halverson has now caught Perez, and where this earlier on looked as though maybe Klaas van Snelheid could be on for a podium, I'm wondering now if Halverson could nick it.
Whoa, there we go.
In fact, yeah, down the inside at the hairpin. This isn't going to work, as I mean, he practically ignores the corner. But yeah, Halverson's looking racy here, and I think he fancies this one. Let's not forget. So Johan Halverson, when we came here in 2016 and he was driving for Meteor, as Halverson gets very, very sideways, and he'll not want to be doing that too many more times.
No, I was about to make a joke about Halverson taking the Joker lap at the hairpin, but he looks like he's really driving that like a rallycross car at this point.
He certainly is, yeah. But I should say, when we came here in 2016, and he was in that Meteor that was very, very good, he finished third. Last year, on the hard tyres, in a really bizarre podium that saw Powers win from Felix Bayer, who, unfortunately, I mean, we haven't even mentioned this, Bayer failed to qualify today, as did his teammate Ledesma, meaning Meteor are not featured in a race for the first time in Formula Virtual history.
Wow, that is a really...
And that's, I think that goes to show how amazing the race has been today. Normally, somewhere like this, we'd have talked about that within 5 laps, because we had nothing going on. Admittedly, the opening laps were a little bit dull, but you know, it's really kicked off here. Yeah, so something we've not even touched on here. Then Meteor obviously not making the race today, as I say, for the first time in Formula Virtual history. But Bayer on the podium last year, ahead of Halverson. He has a bit of a habit in recent years of finishing third here in
That's
here in
a very
Jerez.
good point. And he's going
I'm
to
sure
go
he fancies it again, and indeed he does up the inside then.
I think he's a little bit better this time.
Yeah, off Felix Perez. I wonder if this is going to leave him. On the outside, no, Perez just has enough to slice across and cut the Dane off then. But, I mean, he looks racy, doesn't he? He absolutely fancies this one, does Johan Halverson.
Yeah, I really wouldn't put it past him to make a move here, especially as it depends on whether or not his tyres can just stay alive enough for the next 5 laps. Going back to Meteor as well, I think that they are a team that they've had a very varied history in Formula Virtual, but as you say, 2016 they were probably one of the closest contenders to the title for the DS Madashore team. That's a really big team, in my opinion, not to be making races, even with the change of ownership and the change of personnel that's been going on in recent years.
Yeah, well, I think they're the first team, aren't they, that have competed in every race every season that have failed to qualify for a race.
Yeah.
I believe I'm correct in saying that.
I think you are, yeah, absolutely.
But you know, I think, you know, we need to accept as well that, I mean, obviously that team towards the back end of last season was taken over, and they inherited a very good car, which saw some brilliant results early on, in the latter half of last season. But you know, the management were very accepting that this was going to be a long-term project, and it would definitely dip from there before it improved. And I think that's what we're seeing, as that is a very slow Ingram, and that's James Vazquez then. The Colombian, who was having yet another brilliant race, has had his race ended yet again by another mechanical problem.
Oh, that is such a shame there for Vazquez. That's absolutely gut-wrenching for him and the England team.
Yeah, that is devastating for Vazquez. As we say, he's that's at least the second or third time this season that he's been pulled out of a really strong point-scoring result with a mechanical failure, and as a result, poor old Vazquez has no points so far this season.
Yeah, some really bad misfortune for him then.
I mean, it almost rivals Simon's. Thinking about the bad luck that Vazquez has had, the poor bugger. But can I just point out what that does? I don't quite know how he's managed it, but since we last looked, Viranas has overtaken 5 cars and is now in the points.
Good grief.
I mean, that's a stellar effort.
Really impressive little performance from Lithuanian there.
As Ruiz pits.
Oh, God.
I'll tell you what, he'd be grateful now that Powers lost his front wing.
Yeah.
What on earth is going on there then, as Enrique Ruiz, with 4 laps to go here in Jerez, just as maybe it's just, you know, it's been a legacy of this race, hasn't it? They've decided they don't want to make it look too easy.
Was that his 4th pit stop, to be fair? Because we said
I think it was his 5th.
Oh,
it might
okay.
be his 4th. What did?
Because I'm trying. It was 16:32. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it probably was actually.
That was scheduled. So earlier on, when we were bigging up the race, bearing in mind that we then thought that Powers had an extra pit stop to do, we were right in the first time. It was a good race at that point, so that's good. I mean,
and well, that's really annoying, because if Powers hadn't run into Addison, well, not run into Addison and then into the wall, but you think he lost far more than 20 seconds in that pit stop, because obviously replacing the front wing.
Yeah.
Damn it!
But then, as I say, if you start looking at things like that with traffic, that Ruiz ended up spinning as well. Everything kind of balances itself out over time.
There's Will Hoskins then. Will Hoskins becomes another victim here in Spain, and that is a Ford engine that is very firmly on fire. So I wonder if that manifested itself earlier on, and if first just went, see if you can stroke it home, because we saw him slow, didn't we?
He was definitely lacking pace. I think that's the case of the motorcraft oil in the Ford engine not necessarily dropping on the track, but combusting. Really bad fortune for Hoskins as well. I think that's I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I thought he was just about going to manage to take it home after the struggles we were seeing from him earlier.
That puts Davenport in the points. There we see him on screen. Carlson Davenport for Lucas moves into 10th position. And there's a car behind him smoking as well.
Oh,
That's Carl Beckenbauer.
Oh no.
So Carl Beckenbauer then, what's he got? I mean, they're a lap down, so he's only got 2 laps to go. No, 3 laps to go, because Ruiz is on 67.
Yeah.
Ooh, he might just about drag that to the end, but I'm not entirely confident.
It's interesting that we're having so many engine issues here, though, because it's not the sort of track where you'd necessarily.
And that's another one. That's a Phoenix. And he's got a
Phoenix.
That's Thierry Zylander.
Oh,
the Zylander who's made his way up. No, that's definitely the Phoenix, because it's you can see it before the Ocelot.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
So Thierry Zylander then, who's had, let's be fair, a brilliant race, having made his way up to 11th, having been last for most of it. Oh, that's a cruel end. Zylander's another one, like Vasquez, who's had a number of... last year he finished every single race in his rookie season. And this year, that's at least, again, the 2nd or 3rd time that he's retired from a race, having been in a really strong point scoring... I mean, obviously he wasn't in the points yet, but having had a decent run. As Zveranas pits from 9th. And of course, that'll be his final stop. How far clear of Davenport was he?
Not massively.
Yeah, not massively indeed. And there comes Davenport, and Davenport goes into 9th place. Lucas are now on for 2 points.
Yes, and Zveranas comes out in 10th, so actually only lost 1 spot. And behind is his teammate with a smoking Zylander behind. So actually, I think Ocelot will be on for a point pretty solidly here.
I think they'll be on for 2, to be fair. Davenport's on now really worn hard tyres, and Zveranas is on as fresh as can be, extra softs. And in a much quicker car. I don't think he'll be behind him that long.
And Addison yet again stuck behind the car after being stuck behind Garcia, who is smoking and potentially dropping oil. I think that Addison's going to need a new visor after this one.
He'll certainly have had enough of this one, won't he? Yeah, there we go then. So Addison passed Beckenbauer, or is he? Yeah, surely he'll get him on the exit though. But I can't imagine Beckenbauer's got the power in the engine left, but he does.
Well, see, he had quite a lot of torque. I think
Takahashi's up to 13th.
Good grief.
As a result of all of this, Yakumi Takahashi is up to 13th. And that could be really good for Arrow as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the positions. That's Powers in the wall again. Good lord. What is going on?
This is utter madness.
These last 10 laps have just descended into chaos here in Jerez.
Yeah, we had a really intriguing battle for the first 3 quarters of the race. Final quarter of the race, all hell has broken loose.
It absolutely has, as we've now got 3 cars as well, absolutely nose to tail for the final podium position. Halverson hasn't been able to get past Perez, and Klaas van Snelheid has used that to close in on the pair of them. And as behind them, Ruiz has started his final lap. Zviranas has already passed Davenport and is like a mile up the road. And Davenport will now defend for his life then from Hunter Ryan, as we've got a yellow flag in the first sector. Well, Ruiz is through and it's Powers. Nathaniel Powers is losing time then on the time screens, and he's parked up at the side of the track. And I think Powers has just started the final lap.
Oh, so is he going to finish?
So Powers then will retire from second place, but Zviranas down in 9th have been lapped. So I believe Powers will remain classified in 8th then here.
I think I saw the Downton on fire as well, so that's...
Yeah, there's definitely a fire there for Nathaniel Powers at the side of the track. So, I mean, Powers then, who should have been winning had he not put it in the wall. I'm glad he wasn't now, as Ruiz rounds the final corner and takes the victory then here in Spain. He is going to be a minute clear of Felix Perez, and we questioned earlier in the season, I think it was Australia, whether Ruiz was going to have the take the record for the largest winning margin. Well, he's obliterated several records already this year, and this is going to be another one.
Wow, what an incredible race. I think Ruiz has driven really well, but to be honest, there were probably 3 drivers today that would have been deserving. And
Klaas is past Halverson. Klaas is past Halverson and onto the podium.
Wow, what?
I don't know where that happened. I wonder if that was as a result of Powers parking it up at the side of the track, and whether Halverson just lost a little bit more time there than Van Snelheid did. But somewhere the Dutchman has gone through. You called it about 20 laps ago as to whether Van Snelheid, and that's Zylander having now parked up as well.
Wow.
Yeah, whether Klaas Van Snelheid might finish on the podium. He tried to do everything possible to not make it happen, but there he is. Felix Perez then, a minute behind Enrique Ruiz, takes second place, and Van Snelheid continues Downton's run of podiums.
By the end of that race, it looked less like a sprint race and more like the end of a 24-hour race. That was absolutely
I don't know what happened there in the closing laps. That was absolutely ridiculous. Halverson then takes 4th ahead of Jean Matson. So Matson, who lost out to his teammate and looked as though he was only going to pick up a couple of points, is 5th ahead of Giordano Kanga. Powers classified 8th. Zviranas, and Davenport does indeed complete the top 10. What a race! Well, what an ending to the race that was. Enrique Ruiz then does indeed take the largest ever winning margin record in Formula Virtual history. It's Felix Perez and Klaas Van Snelheid rounding out the podium, but Halverson, Matson, Giordano, Kanga, Zviranas and Davenport make it 9 different teams scoring points here in Jerez. Nathaniel Powers classified in 8th after retiring on the final lap. Adrian Simon looked as though he was going to win it. He took the fastest lap, but that retirement really hurts him in the Drivers' Championship. Ruiz still leads then, 26 points now ahead of Nathaniel Powers and Klaas van Schnelhoed, who are tied in second. Adrian Simon is slipped to 6th, and he is 50 points off the lead held by his teammate. That is 2 full race wins, a lot to make up now for the Frenchman, despite the fact we've still got 9 rounds to go. Carson Davenport gaining ground, as did Finn Schneider, and that makes moves in the Constructors' Championship then. At the top, Mathershaw Porsche have retaken it from Downton. That's now a slender advantage of 2 points, but Lucas, their sole point, and their other results have moved them up to 10th ahead of Franklin and Chima. Arrow have gone past Meteor 2, but Chima dropped back into Q1. But that's all from our race here today in Jerez. So from me and Robert, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time for round 8 from Hockenheim in Germany.